Hey, YouTube followers. I am in quarter 8 of my naturopathic medical school program, and that means that this is the quarter that I will be taking boards. So, for those of you who, desire to come to medical school or who are getting ready to take your boards, I kind of just wanted to do like just a little discussion week by week of like what I'm doing, what my goals are, what my plan is on how to tackle this. So, um, I go to SENM, and at SENM, we are fortunate enough that we are able to have just a little bit of time off from school so that we can actually focus and self study. Now, they do provide like NPLEX review courses in the evenings, as well as two and a half days in which they have a class called Capstone, in which they also do additional reviews from our professors who taught us those subjects. And so those are optional classes, you don't have to go. Um, and just in talking to upperclassmen, I tried to gauge what the best plan of attack would be. And for me, I decided that would possibly be Anderson videos, as well as the NPLEX review book that I was able to rent from the library. But then on top of that, just to go a step further, I purchased these USMLE Kaplan reviews, and it comes with like 7 books. Um, and I think out of those 7, I only really needed 5. So it covers the different subjects in its own book. There's an anatomy book, there is a biochemistry book, there's a microbiology and immunology book, there is a pathology book, and there's a physiology book. And so that's nice. Now, when I was looking into it, the NPLEX book organizes the information based upon the organ system. So you have all the cardiovascular stuff in one section. And so that's sort of nice because instead of having to study um, anatomy of the heart and then studying physiology of the heart and then, whatever, separately, they kind of combine it. And so you can study the pathology, anatomy, and physiology of the heart all in one section. And so, in that way, that's kind of beneficial because now you can kind of see the whole picture about the heart all in one place instead of having to jump around. So, at first, I have to be 100% honest because, that's what it's all about. And I have to say that after coming off of 2 weeks of break and then coming into quote unquote school where I'm supposed to be studying for this, like, since there's no legit schedule, I mean, I made one for myself. I did do that. But since there's no legit, like, schedule in which I have to show up, someone's taking attendance, someone's holding me accountable, someone knows that I came or I didn't come, um, I have been finding it super difficult to stay on track. And so that's been really difficult. Also, um, we had our first, on the first day of class, which was Wednesday in the middle of the week because we only have class 2.5 days a week. Um, so on the first day of class, which was Wednesday, we had a like pseudo exam or pseudo NPLEX prep exam just to see where you are. And so you can use that as a baseline, which is helpful because what they'll do is they'll grade you. It was like 104 questions. They grade you to see, okay, well, one, did you pass? Two, the breakdown. Well, how well did you do with the immunology questions? How well did you do with the biochemistry questions, the anatomy questions, the physiology questions? And so you get a breakdown and you say, oh man, and for me, I did really well with physiology, pathology, and microimmuno. Um, I did okay on biochem, and I just didn't do as well on anatomy. So now I have an idea like, okay, maybe I should spend more time reviewing my anatomy information so that I can be prepared for our capstone final and also for NPLEX. So it's great because you get an idea of where your weaknesses are. Now, although I kind of like, I look at this and I'm like, okay, I feel like I did pretty well. So, like, considering. So, with that being said, considering I hadn't started studying yet, um, and so with that being said, even though I know that anatomy is something I need to work on a little bit more, um, I still want to follow my plan. And for me right now, after having done my plan for 1 week, sorry, a portion of the plan for 1 week, that portion of the plan being watching the Anderson videos, um, I, I started to get to the point where I was like, I'm not sure that watching these Anderson videos are all that helpful. I think that it is helpful in the sense that it it tells you the things that are important that you need to focus on, or at least the things that you should be aware of. And he's really good at saying, oh, this is a type of question that you might expect, and this would be easy to test on because, you know, and so he explains like the types of questions to expect and like why you should have like a basic understanding of some of the more basic concepts. So that is helpful in that sense. But honestly, you guys, I'm not an auditory learner. I really hate sitting here watching videos and listening to someone talk to me, especially without pictures. Like osmosis is a program that you can pay for and use, and they draw pictures as they're talking. So like I'm visually engaged while they're speaking, and I think that that changes it a little bit. But just to have someone talking to me with words on a screen, I can't stand it. I don't like it. I really, I mean, it's just difficult because I end up just like, what would you say? Say it again. And I mean, imagine doing this, you guys. Like, seriously, like for like 4 or 5, I mean, 4 to 8 hours a day, which I haven't been doing. But I mean, initially it was in my plan to do it for that long. So you're talking about, doing 4 to 6 hours a day. Today I did, I think, 4 hours, maybe 5 hours. So that's good. But if you wanted to study longer or whatever, um, like just listening to someone talk for that long, for me, that's not gonna work. So I don't think that I'm gonna like continue to like avidly listen to his videos. What I have been doing is using his PowerPoint so that I know what points to study, what to learn, and and I'm a very visual person, so I have chosen to kind of make notes from the things that he is saying are important, and in my notes I have a lot of visual aids. So instead of typing a bunch of words that I'm gonna have to go back and read all over again, I can just look at a bunch of pictures and kind of like make sure that I understand the concepts behind them. And so that's one thing that I'm doing. Now, the other thing that I'm also doing is following the NPLEX study manual. And I am finding that to be more helpful and beneficial actually, because it's so full of information that I really feel like I'm hitting everything in that book. Now, it is difficult and a little bit intimidating because it is a lot of information, but the reason that I'm choosing to like really narrow down the sources from which I'm getting my information is because I don't, it's so easy to feel overwhelmed. Um, and those of you who went to SENM and had capstone in quarter 4, you completely know what I mean. You go to capstone class and you're like thrown all this information, and they're just like, here's everything we've learned in the whole year now. And they talk to you for how like 4 hours, and then you have a lunch break, and then you still have another 4 hours of class. Now you've been in class for 8 hours, and you're supposed to go home and try to figure out where to start. Where do I start to like learn all this information again? Mm, it just gets overwhelming. And so for me, I am choosing not to go to capstone the class to review the NPLEX stuff unless it's a topic that I'm like, okay, I think they're going to cover that really well in a short amount of time. I might benefit from that. But even then, again, like I said, I know I'm not an auditory learner. I am not actually going to retain any information when I have a teacher talking to me. So for me, I retain information better when I'm reading, or if I'm writing it, or if I can see a picture and associate something else with it. So for me, instead of having 100 different sources and bouncing around from the USMLE to the NPLEX book to the BRS to the, like, all these different options, the blueprint and the just all these different options, I'd rather know, okay, I have one source that I think is very thorough. I'm going to use this to get as much knowledge as I can, and whatever information it doesn't have, then I can outsource. You know what I mean? And I think for me, that feels really solid. So, um, after after 1 week of putting my plan into action, I'm pretty much nixing my Anderson videos. Mm, we'll see how that goes. Um, I'm also thinking I'm only gonna focus on my NPLEX manual, which means that I'm gonna have to put in more time each day. Because when I was only studying the Anderson videos, it was a little bit easier because you can really watch that video in 40 minutes or less and be done, you know, with at least a whole section or a whole topic on NPLEX. And in that way, it seemed like a good idea, except that how much of that 40-minute video did you actually, like, are you actually able to retain and regurgitate when you need to, you know? And so there's a difference between seeing something and being like, oh yeah, that's familiar, and then actually like being asked a question on a test and knowing that you're right. And so I don't think that just watching the video one time through in 45 minutes made me feel secure that I knew anything. And it's for that reason that I think if I watch them, I might watch them later in the game and not in the beginning. So I want to like go through my book. I think that that's a solid plan, and that's where I'm at after my first week into quarter 8. So I'm gonna make another video at the end of next week and let you guys know how it goes. And if you want to see the book, so I'm using a little older book because I bought my book as soon as I had like pretty much entered into school. There was an upperclassman who was graduating, and she was like, "Does anyone want a book?" And so this is what it looks like. It's the NPLEX I study manual by what's his name? Gray Piscopo. Anyway, so he has newer versions of the book, and this book is not as thick as the newer one, but it's because it's double columned. So there's a bunch of information on one page, not that many pictures, not that many diagrams, and the ones that are there are really small. So if you know, buy a newer version, expect it to be thicker, I'm sure it has the same amount of information. The diagrams are bigger and on a whole page instead of being shrunken into a column. But either way, I think this book is really helpful. That's what I'm using, and I'll let you know how it goes. All right, thanks for watching. Join me next time. Bye.